that you did sign in advance just for emergency was for internal purposes only.
Yes, madam.
However, the form that we're talking about, that is not a form that you had signed and left.
No, madam.
So how did your signature reach on those forms?
I don't know. I cannot explain that. I don't know.
A year after you left.
I am not a member of the team. I have not participated in the management of the organization. I don't know.
I'm baffled. Okay, thank you.
I think that, given what you have said, it requires, because there were initially an assumption that the documents that would have been signed, quote unquote, blank, were documents that customs would have had access to. You had said all the documents that may have been signed by you were solely for internal purposes, but not to trigger the procurement of goods through customs. So given that you have said categorical that you didn't sign those documents, then it raises other questions about how your signature, if it was your signature, or how a signature appearing to be one like yours, came to be on those documents. And in relation to the, again, from a perspective of frequency, the is it the C85 form, from your recollection, how, or whatever the number is, that particular form, how often or at what regularity would you have signed a document during your incumbency as CEO?
Chair, that would have been probably about weekly or in some instance, probably every 2 weeks or so. You'll get some to look at, Chair.
Okay. Member Corporate, when you want to say something?
I think I'm sure, well, this is an ongoing investigation that's going on. So I'm sure the fraud squad was brought in to make sure that the signature, whether it was forged or not, to see if that was something that happened. I think it's going to be very important to make sure that the fraud squad looked at the signature on that particular form, to see if it was forged or not, because you're saying that you did not sign those forms after you left, a year after you left, for any purposes at all, right?
Correct, madam.
Correct. Okay, thank you.
In relation to, and I'm moving on, I don't think we can get any further on this particular matter, but I think it would require, we know there are other agencies that are doing investigations there. In relation to at a meeting prior to this, it was indicated that the university hospital did not have its own TCC because of outstanding obligations to the tax authorities. During your incumbency as CEO, to what extent was the private wing used to facilitate procurement of items for the hospital?
Thank you, Chair. The 23 wing, or the private wing limited, is an entity, private entity that was set up to provide service to the public, but also to provide assistance to the hospital. The private wing limited is the largest customer for the University Hospital of the West Indies. And so the management of the wing would assist the hospital where they can, providing that the hospital acts through the respective channels. The private wing limited is not in the business of procuring items on a regular basis for the hospital, the private wing limited would assist with one-off cases, providing that the necessary justification is made to them, either through the board or through the CEO office, Chair.
When you were CEO, was the hospital in possession of a up-to-date TCC?
We were always in trouble with our tax position, and the TCC process is very interactive. The department that deals with that, mainly the finance department, they would be the one that would maintain those relationships and to get that the TCC in place. I would not, from where I sit, be concerned with that, because I in my mind, they would have dealt with that. I believe the finance team of the University Hospital of the West Indies, that is a team that, or the department or section, that is responsible for maintaining the hospital TCC. Yes, madam, but it would only come to my attention.
Can I just
if
ask
there
a question?
is a serious problem.
My apologies. Mr. Chairman, you are the CEO. The CEO is the person in charge.
Agreed.
You can't leave things up to another team who is supposed to be reporting to you and saying that that is on them.
No,
and that's not good management.
Right. I'm not trying to push it off. I'm just explaining the process. So
who does that team report to?
It reports to me.
Yes, so you are the responsible person.
Correct.
Yes.
Correct.
So you can't push it off on anybody else.
I'm not pushing it off. I'm just explaining the process, madam.
So the TCC, not having a TCC, is your responsibility to make sure then that happens, correct?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
So
Right.
you can't push it off on somebody else. And that is, I find that, not having a TCC is almost like, oh, we didn't have a TCC. And so we didn't do anything about it.
No, I wouldn't say that. But, Chair, from time to time, the TCC would expire and we would not have
what
the
is the
TCC.
responsibility of a CEO, a good manager, to manage, to make sure that when the TCC expires, do not interrupt me. When the TCC expires, that it is then you then re-implement that TCC to make sure that it is now working so you can order goods. I'm not understanding why that is so difficult, I guess.
I think go ahead, Mr. Allen.
It's not a difficult process, Chair, and you're correct.
Yeah, but
Leading
he's
up
still
to
the
the
CEO.
expiration of the CEO,
Members, let's just hear Mr. Allen.
we
He's
should
still the CEO.
have ensured that
He's
we
still the CEO.
engage in necessary process to ensure that the TCC is constantly up to date. From time to time, we would have missed that mark, and that is my responsibility. I'm not trying to push it off on anybody. So to answer your question, Chair, there are times that the TCC would not be in place.
No, I know. And it's clear from the outstanding liabilities that would have happened a lot of times. What specifically I was trying to find out is how often the private wing was called upon in the cases where you didn't have an up-to-date TCC to facilitate the importation of items on behalf of the hospital. Your submission was it was more a one-off rather than a normal practice.
And Chair, let me walk that back a little. Given the nature of the times that the hospital would find itself in trouble, I believe we would have asked for assistance from time to time.
That would have been my conclusion as well, given that when you look at the extent of the liabilities and the time frame over which the hospital owed the liabilities. And I only conclude that, as Mr. Hosing presented to us, you are 18 billion in the actual liabilities, but the penalties and interests are 22 billion, more than the actual amount owed, which means that it had to be a pretty long period during which there was the outstanding liabilities and the inability to, and let me be clear, the responsibility for that, while you're the CEO, I'm not going to say that is hold you accountable, because obviously it would require a ministry to ministry engagement to resolve some of that. The Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Health would have to resolve those things, given the extent of the liabilities. They were running into billions of dollars, and you wouldn't have had the cash flow. But really what I'm getting at is the implication of the absence of the TCC forced the hospital to use the private wing on not one-off occasions, but numerous occasions. Almost, I would say, it became more the routine practice than anything else to bring items in on behalf of the hospital, which gave rise to the potential for the abuse of that system. Right? I am indicating my own conclusion. No, I am indicating my own conclusion, member. No, man, I have the right to do that, sir. As you, yes, Chair. I do. Yes, I do.
I appreciate the insight, Chair, and basically exactly what you have said, Chair. Given our tax position, Chair, from time to time we would have asked for some assistance from the wing to ensure that we keep the hospital in a position to serve the people, Chair.
Chairman,
Member Bunting.
I had the same concern, and I'm not. Mr. Allen probably has a lot to account for, but in the case of the TCC, as I understand it, you only get a TCC, or you should only get a TCC, a tax compliance certificate, if you are compliant with paying your taxes. So if you are billions in arrears, how could you be held accountable for getting a TCC when the funding is not there to bring the institution compliant? So I, as I said, you may have a lot to account for, but I don't think it would be fair for this committee to suggest that you were responsible for keeping the organization compliant when the funding was just not there to achieve that.
Who said that? Who said that?
We've heard that.
Members, if you want to ask questions, you are